You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, you weirdos. Jim here, and we're back with the best comics of the week for the week ending on January 21st, 2024. I know I promised that I was going to have this show up each and every Saturday. I will eventually. This week ended up having some crazy stuff around the house, starting with me shoveling snow, slipping on our front stairs and putting my teeth through my bottom lip. And I'm not talking lip, actually. I'm talking like bottom skin below the lip. Like, that was fun. Then about 3 minutes after that, pretty much broke my elbow. So that was even a lot more fun, right? And then during this week, we ended up having a huge plumbing problem. And then today, earlier on, I ended up having a fight breakout in the podcasting room, the studio here, that ended up breaking my monitor, my keyboard, and my mic. So I had to go and get a bunch of other things to get back up and running. So we had some problems. I won't go into the particulars of the brawl that broke out in the Weird Science Studios, but maybe I will eventually. Maybe I'll tell everybody what happened, but yeah, it hasn't been a great week, but was it a great week of comics? Yeah, it was okay. I think last week was a stronger week. This week's pretty good, though. And before I go into this, I want to remind everybody that please let me know what your picks of the week were, because I don't read every single book. Everybody reads a different stack of books, and then, combined together, our combined powers, we can really figure out stuff. And I hope that when we do this, some of my suggestions will get people like, oh, I'll check that book out. But also, I do the same when I see people mention things in the comments, and I'm sure other people do as well. So what I'm saying is everybody's the star of the show if you comment with the books that you liked. And please, no fighting about these books. We're trying to get positive here, give the best of, and hey, let's go. And then there's always fights breaking out. I don't get it. Just like in the Weird Science Studio. See, it all wraps up here. We're going to start with DC Comics, and we'll start with a book that I really enjoyed, though, when we talked about it on our weekly DC Comics podcast that comes out every Sunday night, by the way, and you could see the links in the show notes for. Eric didn't like it as much, but I really did like it. It's Jay Garrick, The Flash, #4, written by Jeremy Adams, and art by Diego Ortalegui, I think his name is pronounced. I hope. I really liked it. What this is a retcon of Jay Garrick's origin. Now, if you're already groaning and moaning, don't worry, because this is the type of retcon that actually takes care of the character, actually, looks back at the history of the character, in particular, the first appearance, and trying to find little I could fit that in that nook. I'll fit that in that cranny, right? You're just adding things in to expand the story and tie it into what is currently being done by Jeremy Adams in this Jay Garrick The Flash book. And what it does is it sets up that Dr. Hughes, who originally was the doctor in all the experiments with Jay, he actually was a little more nefarious than we knew before. In fact, he is Dr. Elemental in the Jay Garrick The Flash book. But not only did he get the things going with Jay Garrick, he also started and gave an origin for Judy Garrick the Boom. And these were all tied into Dr. Elemental, Dr. Hughes. He also ends up founding Star Labs. He works a bit with the Nazis. I mean, this guy has a lot of coats he's wearing, right? But what I liked about it is, again, Jeremy Adams ends up and takes care to keep the major things still there, but then just adds a couple things. It felt a lot to me like Jeff Johns does in a lot of his things, where he expands things. And when I'm talking about this, I know that a lot of people are probably thinking, because of these Golden Age books, you're thinking of what Tim Sheridan's doing in the whole Alan Scott Green Lantern book. And I don't think he's taking as much care there as what is happening here. So don't say, oh man, not another thing like that Alan Scott Green Lantern. No, this actually feels like it feels right. And keep some of the funny things like the hard water and the idea that really what causes, or what we thought caused, the whole turning into the Flash was Jay Garrick wanting to, smoke in the lab. It's so ridiculous. But I'll tell you also, as I go out of this one, if you haven't read the first appearance of Jay Garrick, you should go and do it because this really plays off a lot of things in that. And like I said, it changes things only in the background. It changes things in the shadowy gray areas to make everything kind of come together in the story that he's telling now. And I thought it was really good. The next book from DC that I liked was Green Lantern War Journal #5. And it's written by Philip Kennedy Johnson and art by Montos. I didn't like Montos's art at first, especially in the backups of this John Stewart story that were in the proper Green Lantern book. I didn't like his art at all. Either I'm getting used to it or it's kind of fitting a little better now because I really like the art now. But Phil Kennedy Johnson, the story that he was telling, it really was kind of wonky. It was very convoluted and it was very tough to get into. I'm even saying in those backups of Green Lantern going into this miniseries, most people that I saw reading it and talked to me about it, their biggest problem was they just didn't know what the hell was going on. They liked the character work that was going on, but the overall story with the Revenant Queen and the Radiant Dead and the multiversal Shepherd Lantern, all these things, they were confused. And I'll tell you, I was too. A lot of it going from the Jeffrey Thorne run of Green Lantern that nobody read and nobody liked, but also tying in things from back in the day, Mosaic. That it's hard to track down some of those issues because, Jared Jones, who wrote it, is a little sus. And then also tying in even stuff from the Worlds Without a Justice League. It was wacky. It was really wacky. And Philip Kennedy Johnson does try to maintain and honor whatever continuity came before. He did this with Bendis' stuff when he jumped on the Superman book. Sometimes that stuff is so bad to start that he can't really swing it in a way that makes it better. And that's what I think happened here. But what's happened here, though, is the two last issues. This issue and the last issue. It seems like somebody, an editor or maybe Philip Kennedy Johnson himself have realized, yeah, this book isn't hitting. I've seen the rankings. It's not ranked well either. And I think that the story here should be bigger. And I think that the story is supposed to be, I think that the story here might end up being a big thing going down the road with these Green Lantern books. And so you need people to be reading it. And I think they're kind of going back to basics. It's not a reboot or a reset. It's more of a back to basics approach. And so these last two issues, I think Philip Kennedy Johnson has really, concentrated on what has worked. And that's the character work. You get in this issue, yet again, because we had it before, but we get in this issue reminded that you have John Stewart's mom, she has dementia, and the idea that her daughter, John Stewart's sister, Ellie, had died in the past, but she has dementia and doesn't understand that, thinks that Ellie's still alive. And John Stewart, again, because he did it before, he makes a construct of Ellie. This one a little more advanced, and I think that there's going to be problems with this, but he does it because just think if somebody has dementia and they've gone through something horrible like losing a daughter, you don't want them to have to do that again. And essentially that's what happens. They don't remember. They think that, in this case, Ellie's alive, and you'll have to then tell your mother and break her heart once again. And John Stewart can't do it, especially because he's leaving at that point to go trying to find the Radiant Dead and the Revenant Queen. You might even say that he's not even sure he's going to come back. So he doesn't want to upset his mom, especially because she doesn't have that much time left. So he does, it would be really cold and callous to just straight up, Mom, yeah, Ellie's dead. And that might just break her completely. So he makes a construct and he leaves the construct pretty much with this kind of, hey, here's your MO. Stop anybody who hurts Mom. That is very generic. It's very loosey-goosey on those rules. And I think we're going to get something wrong with that, because what does this construct think mean? Something wrong with Mom, hurting Mom. Oh, wait, this guy wants to give Mom medicine and she's crying. Well, I better kill this doctor. You could go really to the extremes with those basic rules. Also, though, I do want to point out, because I hope I'm right, it's weird because he makes this construct and then talks to her. And she says that I'm part of your will, I'm part of your heart, And I think that maybe him going up, because John Stewart in this book is infected by this Radiant Dead. I think that he's kind of, almost like a safety deposit box. I'm going to put my, will and heart here, and maybe he can then get that later if he needs it. It's a weird play. but we'll see. But I really did like that book. I end up, when I talk about these things, it's like almost a review. And I haven't put a review of this issue on the YouTube yet, and I will. I'm going to do that tomorrow, that and the Jay Garrick Flash. So it's kind of a little preview to that. But again, you should go check that out. But I'm going to move over to Marvel. It was a tough week at Marvel. I want to put something on there, and what I'm going to put on here might cause some eye rolls because it wasn't the greatest of issue, and this is the best of the week, but I'm going to put it because I think the series is kind of like, people slept on it. People didn't really care, but it's a lot of fun. It's Catwolf and the Howling Commandos, number 4. It ends the series. It's written by Stephanie Phillips, art by Carlos Magno. The art's great throughout. I think that's the star of the show. And of course, you want to have a book where Catwolf looks crazy and cool, and Carlos Magno does it. But also, it's just fun. And I give Stephanie Phillips, who I have had even like personal problems where she's attacked us on our site and we, fought back. She was yelling that Gabe was sus, but she was right there. But things like that. So it's not like I love anything she does, but I think that what she does here is that she just tries to have fun with it. She doesn't try to get all fancy. She doesn't try to make things work in a scientician way. It's Catwolf and the Howling Commandos, and that's what you get. And I had fun with it. So I'm going to put that there. I think people should check it out and let me know what you think. But as a whole of a series, giving it props there. And now I'll go to the indie side of things. And this is going to be a pretty quick show. I have one pick. I know there's some other books out there, some things like the Enfield Gang Massacre that I really, really have enjoyed. I haven't gotten to the issue yet, so I feel weird putting it on, but I'm sure it will be. But we'll see. But my pick is Cobra Commander, number 1. And it's written by Joshua Williamson with art by Andre Milana. I think that this is on most people's picks, and I wonder how people think, because you end up having the Transformers stuff. That's coming out. That's awesome. And I'm more into that. Then the G.I. Joe stuff comes in, and I'm like, okay, I don't have that much of a background with G.I. Joe. I don't know. It's not as cool to me as the Transformers, but Duke number 1 was awesome. So then I'm like, okay, let's see what this Cobra Commander. And it's a little less. I mean, each time, even Duke, me saying that first issue was awesome, still didn't like it as much as the Transformers stuff, but I still liked it and excited about it. So then we get to Cobra Commander, and it's like, I don't like it as much as Duke, but I still like it. I just don't have much of a background of Cobra Law, Cobra Commander. So what this issue for me is an exciting number 1 issue that I enjoyed while I was reading. I'm a little confused, but I can tell and go with, hey, I'm going to like it even more as it goes on, as I learn more about the stuff. Like I said, I think it's a little less each time, but this one's still great. I still put it in the book of the week, and I think most people will. I just didn't like it as much as Duke, and definitely didn't like it as much as and I'm saying Transformers as a whole, but especially like that first issue, how exciting that was. But that is it. Like I said, in and out. I'm having problems as I'm talking here. I am starting to have problems with my lip. I'm a wreck. I'm a complete wreck this week. I'm sorry, but that's just the way things roll. I'm always a wreck, and I always will be. And I'm proud to be a wreck and a weirdo. I hope everybody else is too. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening. I apologize for being late, being kind of hurried here, but I hope you enjoyed it. And please let me know what you thought and what you think are the books of the week. Give me some other suggestions. Give me some things, lay it on me, suckers. Let me hear what you got. Let me hear what we could all talk about, and then let's discuss it in the comments. Before I go, though, please like and subscribe if you haven't. And please check in the description. There's a ton of links to a ton of shows that we do. We have a DC Comics podcast, a Marvel Comics podcast, a ton of manga stuff. And we have a Patreon that you can go to and get even more shows there. So, yeah, check it out. Thanks, everybody. And I will talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.